Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to TechTeach with Ebou. If you're new here, we do everything web development and backend development as well. So what are we building today? It's part of a series that I'm building an e-learning platform end to end, where we'll have both front end and we'll have multiple backend framework as well. I have two other tutorials that are part of this list. If you want to start or if you want to catch up on some things that we've done, please check the last two videos. I will link them right up here. Yeah, so for today's lecture, we are building the courses section. This is the landing page that I built in the first tutorial. So as you can see in the landing page, we have a section that we just show the popular courses. Today what we're doing is, if you click on any of these popular courses, it should navigate to that particular course. So the route, it's here, it doesn't exist yet. That's what we're building today. So here is the start of the demo. So if I click on route, you can see we have a beautiful loading schema while it's fetching the data on the backend. In this case, I'm just not hard coding, but I'm using Faker.js to generate this data. As you can see, you have the popular courses here title. I think this should be changed to all courses. It allows you to search for a particular course by text or description, and you can also filter it depending on the course. That if you're interested in a Next.js course, filter it by Next. If you're interested in a backend course, for example, with Express.js, filter it by Express.js. So without wasting much time, here is the as you can see, this is the card. We built this card. If you're interested in the CSS, please check the first video. This card, we implement this card from scratch. So as you can see here we're having showing the average rating here. This is coming from the data that we generated, but when the course is live, this is obviously coming from you guys, the users who will be reviewing some of this course. So you can scroll down here, we just list more of them. The next section is the course details. So if you click on any of this course, it navigates to courses details. So if I click on any of this course, it navigates to courses details. So within the courses details, we render a video from Vimeo. So I will explain why this is happening, but when we're building the platform, you guys will see that icon. So let me pull out a browser that I'm logged in. So within this browser, we will actually see this demo right there. So this browser, I'm logged into my Vimeo account. Let's visit localhost 3001. So in this case, you will see when I'm logged in what is visible. So it's not 3001. We're getting the actual demo, so which is the one that is running on 3000. This is the one that have the completed code. So if I click on courses, it will navigate to courses. This is similar demo that I was showing you guys. If I click on next, as you can see, we have the video here. Amazing. Here is I'm logged into my Vimeo profile. I will show you guys how you can use Vimeo. If you have right now, if it is free, you can just host your videos there for free. And then, but the disadvantage is the videos will be visible to the public. If you have a Vimeo subscription, I think I'm based in Canada, so it's telling me it's like, I think the starter plan is 15 Canadian dollars. It allows you to have custom videos, and these custom videos can only be played within your domain. So even if you're selling a course, a user inspect, get the URL, they will not be able to play. Based on my research, this was better than using YouTube, because YouTube unlisted, even if someone have the URL, they can still see the video and then play it somewhere else if it is embedded. So that's why this is good. So it's the one that I'm using right now. I do not have a subscription, but I use the trial plan. It allows me to edit, make this color looks exactly like it blends really well with my background. It also gives me the ability to also remove the Vimeo logo, the Vimeo here, which I was able to do. So it's a way of it allows you to host your video, sell your course without having to own a video upload or streaming service. This was the best solution for my case. So in your case, if you're building an e-learning platform that allows people to upload multiple videos, either you can look at the Vimeo, they have the customized like the enterprise that allows you to talk to them, or the other option would just be to use an S3 bucket. Amazon S3 bucket, then you just find a CDN that you put on top of it. I think Amazon does have a CDN. put the CDN on top of the video, then you're all good. All you have to do is very simple. When a user comes in here, let the user upload their video, send it to upload the metadata information on AWS. Find I think Amazon also have CDN, like I mentioned. Put the CDN on top of it so you can have the video delivery. It's going to be a lot more complicated, but that's what I would have done if I was building this for many people, because it's my personal website that I'll be selling my courses. So this was the best approach. I decided to go with this. Let's continue on to the demo. So if you go next, you will see that I have in this course, how many hours is it, what are the students enrolled, the total assets that you can download. In this case, it would be icons, a few other things, and then how many videos are there. Right now, all these numbers I had coded, they'll be coming from the backend, obviously, so these numbers are not the same. And I have this here which just tells me what the course content is. Like I said, right now every single data that you see here is generated. It's not real, but it will be replaced with an actual data. So I can expand it. Then you can see here I have one video that will give me the title of the video. In this case, because I'm in the course page, everybody can access this page. You cannot play a video from here unless there's some demo videos. You can see this one here have 5 videos. If I expand it, you will see every single 5 videos here. The same thing. So this is generated the same way. And I also have the expand all button here that allows you to click on it, then it expands every single thing. I can have collapse all, then this will collapse everything. So let's say even if I have one open or two, if I click on expand all, as you can see every single thing is expanded, so a user can see what to expect if they purchase this course. The last part of the demo is once a user, right now you can see we have the enroll button here. This will change once a user purchases this course. This will be go to my course or learn. In that case, once a user click on it, we will navigate to a route called learn. So if I just manually navigate to this route here called learn, you can see it is going to load that learn page. So what this learn page is going to is similar to the previous page. That's why you see this course content, we will be reusing the same component and then just styling it slightly different, because here we need the slower speed. So we have the video here that is visible right here. Whatever that is here, this is the section. We can scroll here and then select a video that we want to play. So you can, this is the only part that is scrollable, which is by default, because someone would want to scroll within here and this part will be stagnant, because if not you will scroll here and then the whole video will scroll with you, the whole page. That is not something that is a good user experience. If you want to click on any video right here, click, then the video will now change here. So progress will also be tracked on the back end, so that next time once you open this, you will see the areas that you've completed and the ones that are missing. So that is the demo today. Let's get started to code. So I will move this one out here. I think we should use this actually. Let's use this so that you guys can be seeing the video, not the login that asks me to log in. Here I'm logged into my account that is on Vimeo. There you go. I think we should be good. We should get started. Like I said, revert back to the previous videos if you want to learn more about how we build some of these components. But for today, starting from this course section, every single thing here we're building it from scratch today. So let's dive straight into coding. I forget to tell you, if you are not interested in watching the previous videos, that's fine. Just go to GitHub and just clone out the repo. So I will send the link of the repo will be in the description below. Just go to GitHub and then just clone the repo. Here is the repo for it. If you go to GitHub, just clone this repo and then we should be good. So there are different branches. I'm doing it based on branch. The first video is the landing page. This is where we build. If you want to start from here, that's fine. Clone this part. If this is the second part, which I teach how to build a block using MDX file, because I also plan on writing block. So yeah, just clone the main repo. It's here. To clone the repo, just copy this, and then there you go. You should be okay, to clone this repo. If not, if you want to start a new project, that is fine. You just need to do some additional setup or come and get some of the components that I write here, or create your own component, because there's nothing extraordinary. Well, without wasting my time, let's dive straight into coding. So I'm gonna pick up where we left last time. That is, we now need to define our new types for the videos that are coming. So we only have one type. We need additional types that we are going to define today. And what are these additional types here? So the first one is a course. Like I said, because we'll be showing a course, and this course have different sections. So as we're building the course, we'll also be building the other areas that are also related to the course as well. So let's start export. Oops, I mistyped export. So this is going to be export type course. So let's dive straight into it. Usually the first that we need is just the course ID, because we are going to use this ID to identify our course, and this will be a string, and also for React rendering as well. So the next one is we need a course name, because every course is going to have a name, and that name is of type string. We also need the instructor ID, that is the ID of the instructor who is doing the course. So instructor ID, instructor underscore ID, this is of type string. There's also image URL, so that image URL is the URL. Wait, what happened? Oh, okay. So the next one is the image URL. That is, every course have an image. So as you can see from the demo here, this course, this is the image of the course. Right now, everything is hard coded. So we need to, we will generate when we're uploading a course, we'll be doing that. So I have the upload course section that we'll be doing in the next video that allows you to upload a course that goes directly to our backend, and we first have to upload it to Vimeo. Well, without going off topic, let's come back to topic. It's just defining, so which is of type string. Why is it a string? Because we'll be uploading it to Cloudinary and then just getting the URL. The next section is the demo video. So we need a video for the demo. So if I click on this page here, you can see here is the demo video of what to expect if you purchase this course. Also, I forget to show how responsive these for the viewers. You can see it is fully responsive. Every single page that we develop is responsive here. What is next? So without wasting time, I will just copy the remaining parts here so that you guys don't have to watch me type these types here. So as you can see, a demo video is of type video. We will define the video. We are going to have sections. Looking at the here, you see the course content here. The course content have so many sections. You can see it have multiple sections here. So these sections that we have here, we will have a special type here called section that we will define. And there's also description, which is the course description, and the average rating. All right, so is there anything else that we are missing here? Yeah, I think we should be good. So the next thing to do is just to define the section and the video. So I'll just paste in the types for section and video, and I'll just explain it. You don't have to watch me type that. So a section is going to have a section ID. This is a section here. This is also a section. So every section is going to have a section ID. Is going to have a course ID, which means we will be storing this in different either table or collection, depending if we're using MongoDB or MySQL. We're going to have a collection course section. So in this section, once we query a section, we need to pass in the course ID so that we know that this section belongs to the course ID. So there's a section title. So you can see here is the title of this section. These are the titles of this section, and we are going to have subsection title. So, and we are also going to have subsection as well. So in this case, I don't think we need a subsection title since we are creating an array of subsections. So we will remove this and have a subsection. Within the subsection, we will have a title. So in this case, what is a subsection? For example, this one is 5 videos. These are the subsections. This belongs to this section here, and these 5 here are the subsections. In that case, it is an array, but each subsection contains a title and it also contains a video URL, because if you click on any of this, it should click a video. That's why you have this title, and also the video now contains the metadata of the video. That is the video ID, the video URL, the course ID that it belongs to, and the section ID. So the section ID, let's make it optional. Why are we making it optional? Because we can have a video that doesn't belong to any section. What is an example of a video that doesn't belong to any section? For example, this video here, which is a demo video, it doesn't have a section. So that's why we are going to make it optional. Course ID is required, but section is just optional. It's a good thing to have. So once we have this and the course, I don't think we are missing. Something else that we are missing is a project, because let's say if I create this project and then like I said, the channel will just be built in. Let's say if I build it in 2 different backends, I create a project that I call e-commerce, for example, and I have a Next.js for the same project. I have a backend with how do I call it, with Fast API, or have a backend with Express or Prisma. Let's say Express or Prisma. These are all the same course that belongs to one project. And at the end of the day, if a student purchases one course, I will give them access to every single course that are part of that project. In that case, if you want to learn Express.js, I'll also give you access to the course that is teaching Prisma. That has Prisma. I'll also give you to the course that is using Spring Boot with Java. In that case, you have access to all of that. So let's define a project. A project should have a name, and the project should also have a different courses as well, because like I mentioned, one project can have multiple courses. That is why we are having this. Anything else is just simple and straightforward. We're also going to define a user. So the user that we are defining is, we are giving it an ID, which is very usual, the date the user joined, and then the courses that this user purchased. That we are also going to keep on the backend to know that this user has purchased this number of courses. The role of the user defaults to user, but this could be an admin. This is also an instructor, so that we can do role-based rendering. When we do the backend, or we connected this to Next.js, we will now do role-based rendering. So that's the use of this source. So now that we define our types ready, I will save this. The next thing to do is to generate data, because one of the ways of just working with this is just to be able to generate data in such a way that once we see the data, some data will generate, like for example, a description that is very long. In that case, we will know what to expect, or we're going to handle those issues gracefully rather than hard coding it. So that's why I prefer Faker.js. So we are using Faker.js today. So the website is fakerjs.dev/guide, and it tells you how to install it. So the first thing we're going to do is just to install Faker.js. I'm just going to move this into view. Just click here to expand it more. I will stop whatever that is running, clear my terminal, and then install Faker.js. Save def, just save it as def, because you don't want this library in production. It's a little bit big, and you're only using it locally to store data. So the fact that let's kick the project again to get running yarn-dev. I'll come here in the root directory. Inside here, the root directory, let's create a new folder. So I explained in my previous, there's a way to create a new folder using file. I think it's faster. It's a shortcut. Click on the file. The folder that I'm creating is called test data. Then I'll do / and I'll put the name of the file that I want to create. In that case, it's just index.js, so that importing is going to be easier. So here, we're just importing Faker.js, because we are going to use this Faker.js to generate the data. Let me go back to our types here. So we're going to generate data based on our types that we have, because at the end of the day, we just want to generate a course. But in order to generate a course, there's so many different things that are related to generating a course. So we need to generate those as well. Let me close this so you guys can have a bigger view. Here I have, I think I have an extension that is doing this. Here are just the ones that we just defined. So we define section, subsection, section, course, and then video. So I'll just do one thing. I'm just gonna save you guys time instead of doing this, but don't worry, I will explain every single thing that is here. I'm just going to bring this right in here. So there's this code here. Let me expand this a little bit more and then explain what is going on here. Yes, we don't need this. I think we removed the subtitle. Just notice that we don't need subtitle. So the first thing to do is we are generating a course, but like I said, courses have multiple. So one way to do this would be also to use like other libraries. Maybe ChatGPT would also be good at generating this as well. So, but I prefer to use Faker so that every time I run it, I don't have code any data and I can generate as much as I want. So as you can see here in the course, these are the here is what we have in the course. We have an ID, instructor name, and section. But a section is related to a course. So what I did here is just course ID faker string.uuid. It just have a UUID because we are also going to be using UUID on the backend. So I pass in the course ID, the course name. I just say faker.company.catchphrase, which just catch a little bit phrase from a company. In that case, we will have a name. Instructor ID, we are also getting faker.string there because this is also going to come from the user ID that we define, so we know who is the instructor. There's the demo video, and I have a function called generate video. We will go back to this function later, but let's just do it now. So the video that we define, as you guys remember, we have a video ID, which is a string. We also have a URL. Right now, we're just using faker.internet.url to generate any URL. Course ID, because a video is related to a particular course. That is the reason why the course ID was passed here. The course ID that we generated at the beginning, just to make sure where this course ID, that's what we pass in here. Sections, because section is an array. When I said array.from, and I'm passing the length that I want to generate. In this case, I'm also using faker.number.int. I'm saying the minimum needs to be 6 and the maximum needs to be 20. Then I will just call the function that does the generate. So if this length is, let's say if I have a length of 15, this function will be called 15 times. Generate section is very similar to generate video. So in this case, I pass it a course ID because I want a section to be attributed to a course ID. So if I click on generate section, you can see it's very simple. We generate a section, but because a section that we generated, we want the subsection to also have the section ID and the course ID. That's why we did something similar here. So this one is very similar to whatever that we're doing here. In this case, let me change this thing to 2. That is the minimum. And let me change the maximum to 10 so that we can have more sections within a video. So I will generate a subsection. In this case here, generate subsection will, why is generated here? Subsection is very simple. All we are doing, we have a title and we also have a video URL. In this case, the subsection section that we are generating have a course ID and a section ID. So that's what is happening here. It's very simple to get the data. This is optional. Like I said, if you want, you can do it, but I prefer to do it. And here is the generate course function that I expose, and I'll pass in the number. If I pass in 100 here, this will generate 100 courses for me. In that case, if I have pagination, I can easily test pagination with this data. I can generate 1000 to see how responsive my app is going to be, how I'm going to test the performance of the application. So this is why I prefer this. If you're doing any other thing, that's the beautiful part of Faker.js. Now that we have this ready, so I will save this. Do we even have a route for the courses? Let's go back to the page. We have blog. No, we do not. So let's create the route. This is the shortcut here. I'm creating courses. So inside courses, I'll create page.tsx. So I will do sfc. I have an extension that I install. If you don't have the extension, feel free to type it, and I will call these courses. So in order for us to test if this is working, I'll render a div. Inside a div, I'll render an h1, and this h1 that I just rendered, oops, I will just type courses here. So we will go back to our app. I think this is running on localhost 3001. Let's do this, and Yes, let me confirm from the terminal what port are we running on. Yes, we're running on 300. You probably be running on 3000 because I have another project. The demo project is running at 0.3000, so I can switch in back and forth to show you guys the demo. But yes, so if I click on courses here, this will now navigate to courses. So I have the rehydration issue that I talked. There you go. So we have these courses here that is rendered. So we are all good and to start coding. So as you can see, this is what we're building here. But in the previous section for the landing page, we already have a component for the courses, so we don't have a lot to do here except this site. We also implemented the site component, and in the combo box in the last tutorial we implemented the combo box. So yeah, what are we doing today is just a matter of reusing these components that we already have. So considering the fact that we have these components, we will use it. But before that, let me do one thing first. So if I come back to my components inside my courses here, I'm hard coding it, but I can do better, right? Because I have the function that generates the course for me. And this course is, since it is going to be called in multiple places, I will ideally pass in props here so that the props will handle this. In our case, I will call these courses props, and what I'm passing in the courses prop is just an array of courses. Since I already have the type for course, I will just write it here, which is let's import it. It's coming from add type. So we have courses prop. Let's do this for react.fc. Let's do a functional component, and the courses props that we just defined here. Make sure that this takes. Let me do this so that you guys can have a bigger view. And whatever that I'm doing here is I am just destructuring this courses here to have it. So instead of generating 9 array here, I will just use courses because I have the data that is passed. And here, this is course. Now the index, the course have an ID that is unique, so I'll just use the course ID as an index. Now that we have these courses, I think we should also go into courses card, and inside courses card, we should also take a course as a props as well. Because now that we have all the information that we need, so we can just take this as a props. So I'll take a course here. Just take a course. There you go, from add type. So if you don't have the suggestion from VS Code, or if you're using a different browser, just import course from courses. So let's do one thing. Let's use react.fc, which FC stands for just a functional component. In this case, the functional component is taking a props called course card. Oops, I think this should be props so that we do not have an issue with React in terms of that is done. So let's just take the course. In this case, we already know the information that are coming from the course. For example, here, this is now going to be course.course name. So we don't have to hard code that anymore. Course.course name. Anything else to change here? Yes, the rating. So we already have the rating. So this should be course.average rating. Not only that, I think there are a few things that we need to do. One of them is the number of lessons here. So if you guys remember, we just talked about it a few minutes ago. We have a course, and each course has a section, and each of those sections has a subsection, and each subsection represents a video. So in that case, for us to get the total number of lessons, let's just do some simple math here. We have the course, so I'll just call this total lessons. Let me just define a variable here that I'll call total lessons. It's of type number. What are we going to use? Reduce function. So there's course.sections. So within these sections, we are trying to use the reduce function. I will use reduce function and try to explain. So inside the reduce function, there's 2 parameters that the reduce function takes. The reduce function takes the current, and the reduce function also takes the accumulative. So in this case, we are going to pass in both the current and the accumulative. So just 1 minute. Let's do this. Courses.section.reduce. In this case, I have the accumulator and the current. Accumulator and current. What am I doing here is I am returning the accumulator because I'm trying to do the basic math, the accumulator, and then current dot subsections dot length. In this case, this will give me the total number of videos. But since this is a reduced function, I am going to pass in the initial value as 0. So if I save this, this will give me the total number of lessons that I have. So to take a step back, if you're not familiar with reduce, what are we doing here? We're just saying, let me define. We're just saying cons total, let me use let total equals to 0. That is for someone who is fairly new to JavaScript functional programming and you don't know what is happening here. So I'm just taking the cumulative. Initially, I said the cumulative value is 0. And I said 0 plus the current. In this case, it's going to be one of the subsections, dot subsections, dot length. In that case, the length returned 2. Now my current, my accumulator is going to be 2. It's going to go to the next value. If the length is 3, it will add in, my accumulator will be 5, and at the end of the day, it will return that accumulator here as total lessons. So whatever that is happening, let's say if we wanted to do this with basic for loop, it's going to be something like this. Let I start from 0 till I less than course dot sections plus I plus plus. And in our case, you will just be like total plus course dot sections at position I dot length. L-E-N-G-T-H. So we are having something here. Cannot be applied to type number and sections. Oh yes, so there is a mistake here. That length. Yeah, in this case, we should just be so course dot sections at I. This will return a section, and I need the subsection on it, and then dot length. So basically, whatever that we're doing here, it's basically the same thing as a reduce function. So that is what this is doing, if you want to understand. But I'm going to remove this and then just use the reduce. So I'll do this. I will put the total lesson here. We have that. Is there anything else? I think we have a category. In this, if we do not have a category, let's go back to our types and add it, because every course belongs to a particular category. So inside a course, let's update this and add a category. And this category is of type string. Let's go back to wheresoever we are generating our data, which is a test data. For course, we will have an issue because we don't have a category. So let me add a category. In this case, I'm going to say Faker.helper.array element. In this case, it's going to pick from one of the array elements. It's taking an array. So let's start passing the options here. Let me just do this, and then we pass in the different options that we have. The first one, it's design. A course could be of type design. It could be Next.js, for example. Next one would be fast API. Let's say Express.js. Express.js, Prisma, Spring Boot, Prisma, Spring Boot. So what is happening here is just going to pick one of these options. So every single time it will just pick one of these options. If it runs, it could pick design, next, and fast. So we'll check it out. If we go back to our course, not this one, let me open up this. We components, courses. Oh, right here. Oh, we'll come back to it. We'll fix you gracefully. What else? So here, now that we have the category, this badge is now going to the course but category. Right, I think for the most part we're done. Let's come back to our course here and fix this issue. Because we have it's expecting a prop of type course. Let's just pass that here, and TypeScript will be happy, and we're happy as well. So now that we change the props, we are good to go now. Now it's good for us to call our function, render it, and then just pass in the props. So in the interest of time, I am just going to bring this code right in here. Don't worry, guys, I will explain the CSS. So if you guys prefer me to type it instead of bringing it, please leave your comments, and I'll do exactly what you guys want. So I'll just replace this with this content here. I'm going to explain it line by line. Do we not have courses title? I think I created courses title. Well, the naming is different, so it's course title instead of courses title. I will come back to you. You need a props. You see that. So this is course title. So good. I'm gonna save it. So what is happening here is, let's first go back to our page and see what we have. We change this, we have the app running. Let me reload this and see what we have on this page. While that page is building, let's come back here. We have this. It is missing a few things. I guess it's because what I have to do, let me just remove the cache by just deleting the .next. I will stop the project and start it again, because it seems like it's not showing a few things. So let me clear my terminal. Let me run yarn dev again. That is running on port 3001. Let me reload it. So we'll go through this code line by line and see what is happening. First part, very basic. This was done in part 1. This is why we created this courses. That is, I explained the part 1 in details on how this courses was built. Combo box is built in the last section where we built the block. So there's a site input here, and this site input is also built on the first tutorial, I think, the landing page. Yeah, everything else is generate. We just did this generate together. Now I'm generating 15 courses. I'm using my generate course and I'm passing 15 to it. That will generate. What is happening here is, let me go back here. What is happening here is I'm setting a state, and the state that I'm setting, I have a value and then a set value. This state is for the filter that we have on this page. You can see here is just for this filter here. So for some reason, this part of the code is not appearing here. Something is going on. Let's do this. Let me just render a simple code search input here and see what's going on. This is from cache, and see if we're going to get anything that says search input here. Let me reload this. Yes, we do have a search input. Then, oh, okay, now the combo box also appeared. So let me remove this. I don't know why React wasn't rendering this. Oh, I think the initial component that was rendered was a server component. Now it's rendering a client component. There you go. Now we have that one. So I think explaining is now going to be a lot more easier. Okay, it allows me to cite by courses. It also allows me to filter by courses. So there's course title. So you guys can see here is the course title here that was just built in the previous section. It should be popular. I don't think this should be popular. Now we should have all courses instead of popular courses. I think that should now change this popular from to all courses, because now we are not dealing with just popular. The next, this is just a flex container, and I just say that render the items in column and then give gap in between them, put a space of 5, gap of 5, and I think if I hover over it, gap of 5 is just 20 pixels. That's why I rendered this, and it gives a gap of 5 here, and it also gives a gap here as well. So the first one that I rendered is here, then the second one is just this container here, which just renders this too. So as you can see, it renders this guy, and I think we are going to change this, because for the responsiveness I would want this sidebar to take up the whole space, and this guy would just float over to the next line. But yeah, before that I give it I have the site input. I don't want the site input to take more than 600 pixels, so I set width of full but maximum of 600 pixels. So if the width is less than 600 pixels, it will take up everything. If the width is greater than 600 pixels, it will take up the whole width, but because we have this maximum here, it cannot exceed 600 pixels, because I don't want the reason I did not want this whole line to be an input here, so I just wanted the input to stop here. That was the thought process around that. It's okay if you want it to span up the whole space, it just does not look beautiful for you. Then I rendered the combo box. I have a div flex, which means it's going to render them in column by default, in row by default, not column. Sorry about that. And I have a gap, and then I have a margin bottom. In this case, is the margin bottom between this guy and this guy. So yeah, that should be it. So I think in order for us to fix it, we should put let's put a flex wrap here so that this guy will wrap up to the next if there's not enough space. We will reload this once. Yeah, there you go. So it now wraps. But before, you see, now it's beautiful. I think now the responsiveness looks way better. Where did it go? What happened to this component? This component is acting so weird. I don't know. Is it because we rendered this page? Oh, could it be the name that we have? Because I think we are having courses here and then change it to courses page. So I'm not sure if Next.js is just, but I don't think that should never be an issue from Next.js. It should never be. As you can see, there's something going on. So you see, it just did not render that guy again. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll see what's going on here. What are you doing? Set input. Yeah. I think this has something to do with cache, Next.js cache, and so on. But we'll live debug it. We'll see what's going on here. I'll reload this guy. Okay. Let's see what the error is. Oh, it's because of hydration fail. It's okay. This hydration is failing because in my previous tutorial, I was showing you guys how to run a block, and that block already contains an HTML that was coming from the MDX file or MD file, so that we do not have control. One way that I can do is just to suppress this warning. So that could be the reason that is causing this. So we can suppress the warning just to make sure that these guys are not shown. We are having our site input and these guys rendered correctly. So if I do this, we should be able to have these guys ready. So we'll suppress the warning. Now that I have this part ready, the next section is very simple. I just call my courses route, which is just this courses here, and I pass in the courses that was generated. So in this case, that is what is happening here. Do this. Here we can see the course. So I can see if I scroll up to the big page, we have it, and then on a smaller screen size, my friends are responsive. So you can see the course card is also very, very responsive. There you go. So now we are showing all the courses. Yes, this I like. So now that we're showing all the courses, the next thing that we need to do is to show the course details. That is, once you click on a course, it now navigates to the details page, so you can see what that course is. So in order for us to do that, within the app directory, we are going to create a new folder, and I'm going to use this shortcut. I'll just use create file. I will call this course ID. And inside I will create a file called page.tsx. So in this case, within courses I have course ID, which means if I go to courses and navigate to, well, I think it's better for me to just show you guys that too. So let's create a new file that I call courses details, or course detail, not courses, so singular course details. Let's render something. Let's have a div. Within this div, we'll have an h1, and the h1 is just going to say courses details. I also have auto rename tag as well. That is why you guys will see that once I open up a tag, it auto closes. So it's courses details. I'll save this. What is happening, because I have this courses details inside courses, if I click on /123, for example, this will now navigate to my courses details page. And what is in this courses details? So right now you see I have the courses details, but what is inside the courses details? I'll come here and then show you. If I click on a course here, it will navigate to course details. This was part of the demo. So in the course details, I will have the title of the course. Let's do this. I'll have the title of the course. I will have the course description. the number of ratings, the average rating, the instructor that publishes, and then the enroll button. These are the course stats. So this is what we'll be doing. We're going to divide this into 3 different sections. First, we're going to build this courses hero, which is just this hero section here. This is simple. We can use either flex or grid. Maybe we can use grid, divide the screen into half, or use flex, also divide the screen into half, also make it responsive. I think it is also responsive as well. So you can see if you scroll, it is super responsive. The next part is we're going to have courses start. So assuming this was a design, you know that these guys are very similar. Every single thing here is similar. There's nothing different between these guys. So the only thing is create a simple component and then just reuse it inside here, because it's the same thing. Here I will create a component that we are going to call course content, and that component is going to use this is an I think it's from Satsian, not the whole thing, but just this Akason that allows you to expand and then collapse this section here. This is from Satsian that we're going to use to build this part of the section. Yeah, without wasting much time, let's dive straight into coding. I already pre-built these guys, but I'll explain that. So we'll go to courses. Inside components, we will create courses details. I'll create a new folder called, in this case, yeah, I can use the shortcut. I will create course details, and inside course details, I will create course details hero.tsx. In this case, this will represent the first part of course details here. And the next one that I'm creating inside here is going to be the stats. So I'll create a new file called course details stats.tsx, and the last one is the course content, which is just this content here. So I'll create a new file inside courses details. So this is inside components, and then I have this courses details. So what am I creating next is the course content. So I'll just do this course content. This will just give us the content that are available in a course content.tsx. Save it. So we have these courses. Let's go through them one by one. The first one that I'll explain is just the course details section. So for in the interest of time, I'm not going to type this, but I will explain every single part. So this is the course details hero. I'm gonna paste this code here. Let me close this sidebar here and then just explain. So assuming this was the design that was just given to you, like I said, divided into section, we know that this here, there are 2 parts here. One is just these guys, and the other is the video. So I will do this, come in here and then just explain whatever that is happening. Ignore these guys. We'll come back to the props and why I pass props here in course details and so on. So looking at it, I define a section for it. I say that this is a section. I give it a minimum height. It should have a minimum height. It should have a height of full. I also make it a grid. So I'm going to explain this. I was talking and I said that we either going to use grid or flex, but I decided to use grid here. So I make the class grid just for code readability. I'll move this guy here and then just paste it here so that it's a lot more easy to read. So there's something called grid template columns that allows you to divide your screen size based on the content inside it. So in this case, if I said grid content 1, if you're familiar with CSS, I think this is just running grid template column. Exactly. If you have this Tailwind IntelliSense, you can install it. You hover over it, you will see the whatever style that Tailwind is running. It's just saying grid template columns. Repeat 1 times, just 1 FR. I think this is an overkill. Could have just put 1 FR here, but this repeat 1 time. This doesn't make. If you're repeating, don't just put 1 there. It doesn't make sense. Just write it here direct. Anyways, that's not the topic of today. So we have grid template columns 1 and grid template column 2. So these are the breakpoints that are in CS. That are in, how do I call it? These are the breakpoints that are in Tailwind CSS. Very similar to, all they're doing is they're running media queries behind the scene. So what I'm doing, I'm saying that if make it a grid, and the starting point, which is the smallest screen size, give it a grid template column of 1. Because I'm rendering 2 diffs here, as you can see, I'm rendering 2 content. One of them is a diff and the other one is the video. And I'm saying that render each of them on a new line, except when the screen size is medium, that is if the screen size is 768 pixel going up, then grid template column 2 in the sense that divide the screen into 2 equal parts. Render this one on the first, that is the text, that is this div, and render the video on the second section. So in this case, it's going to make our app very responsive. I think this could also be large because the video, I think, doesn't look good. So let's do one thing and see what we're going to have, because I think large is a bigger screen size. So I would reload, not here. So we're doing, I'll come back to it. So we'll just do more demo. Here in the demo, I have the medium, but here I change it to large. So we'll see whatever that is happening. But I hope this part is clear. And all I'm doing, I'm just saying items of center everything in the middle. The second part for the hero, because I have 3 different elements here, and I think flex was the best here. I would say that flex, and then just use justify content of between. In this case, it's going to space these guys into 3 different parts. So let's go over that. So I said flex of flex height full, flex column, render them in column. MD padding bottom of 0, will come back to that, and justify around. So it's not even between, but around is it's spaced around. That's also evenly as well, that we can use justify evenly. Then here they're very basic thing. I'm just rendering a text. I'm rendering the course description, and I'm also rendering here with the enroll button. This will also be changed because we are also going to have probably going to have go to course as well. So we can just duplicate this and then just say go to course. For now, go to course. So here in my demo, if you click on this go to course, then it will navigate to that other screen. But yeah, that is it. Very simple. The video component, I built it in the previous section. This video component allows an ID from a particular user, and it will play a video either from YouTube or Vimeo. In this case, if you decide to use YouTube, passing the ID from YouTube. So I'm not going to go into this. If you want to know more about this, please check the previous section where I built the video component, or you can just check the code for it. It's very simple. You can just check the code for the video. I'm just using an iframe. Within iframe, I'm just using these classes from Tailwind. So we're not going to waste time. So now that we have these guys ready, let's come back to the props here. Props, nothing too complicated. We are passing the course name because every single course have a name, a description, the rating. Those are the guys that we're passing here. So we just decided to split it and not to pass the entire course. If you want, you could pass the entire course, but don't feel like sending data that we do not need. So that's the reason why I just separated. Passing a course name, description, average rating, total reviews, demo video URL, and demo video host. So which you're telling that is this video hosted on YouTube or is it hosted on Vimeo? And I just render the content here. So that part is done. The next one is the stats. The stats is very simple. We're just rendering some things, some very simple things. I'll just bring in the code for the stats. It's super simple. You just have a few divs. Give me 1 minute. It's proven stubborn here. So here is the course stats. So for the course stats, whatever we're using course card. I'm using Tailwind CSS. If you're new, I'm using Tailwind CSS, and I'm also using SAT-CN as for the UI library. So a card is a component that comes from SAT-CN directly. I'm using it, applying basic styles. I want it to be dark. I want the border to be none. Background, I want you to inherit it. That's it. From, in this case, it will inherit background from the parent, and parent, we set the background of the parent. What I'm doing, I just define some constants here. I don't care because these values here, they are going to change. For now, it's just, I just define constants so we can render it. Eventually, they're coming from the backend. All these total reviews, assets, they're all coming from the backend. We'll be computing them here. So I just look through costs and then just print out these cards here. So it's very simple. Here I'm using grid, or what am I using? Yes, I'm using grid. I explained this in the first section, but it's also grid template columns, but in this case, I don't want to pass 1 or 2. I want to have full control of how it works. So to summarize, this is saying that I want it to be 300 pixels, right? And if I go to the screen size that it doesn't fit anymore, I want it to wrap automatically. So in this case, it's going to take it to the next line. And if I get to a screen size that even the 300 doesn't fix, I want it to be auto, which is this auto fit. I want you to auto fit it, reduce the size down and auto fit it. So that's what this auto for min max is doing. In this case, auto fix 300 pixel. If the 300 pixel doesn't fix, take the auto. In this case, if it is 200, take it. So just to do a demo of that, so you can see here, they're all going to the new line because I specified the 300 pixel. As I go through, they're coming up beautiful. So the stats is very simple. I'm not going to waste more time here. I will just save this file here. The next section is the course content, which is it's a very important component. It is a client component. I'm just going to paste the content of course content and we'll go through it as well. So course content, just in the interest of time, a course on this is a it's from SATCN that I already installed in one of the previous sections. I already installed so but yeah, I'll show you guys. I think let me close this guy up. Let's go through it. So in the course content, I'm passing a class name because the course content is using multiple pages. As you can see here, the size of the course content is very big. I wanted to take the whole screen, but in the other place where we are rendering the video here, learn, because when I look at the design, I notice that, oh, I don't have to build completely different component. I can use the same component, but here the course content is very short. Maybe this I would say width of 400, maybe, I don't know, but yeah. So that is the reason why I am passing a class name here, because I want to reuse the same component. I do not want to build like the component over and over again or just have some code duplication, which is not necessary. Passing the class name here, whoever that is in control will now decide the width, whatever that we want, how responsive it is. The next part of course content is very simple. I just rendered the title here, which is the course content. In this case, there's an expand all button. We will add the expand all button later. So right now we only have the course content. I have a person that is coming from SATCN. In this case, I specify it to multiple. You can do single here, which means you can open only one at a time, depending on your requirements. In my case, I think multiple makes sense so that it can allow someone to expand everything. Once they get in here, they will know what to expect. So I'll close that out. If I come back here, there's a custom item, which things these guys are very simple. I don't think we need to dive deeper. So if you want to know, just go to SATCN. Let's go to SATCN, inside SATCN components, and then that's the guy. That's all. So this is the component that we're using. I just modified it in a way. So you can see this one is of type single. So you cannot open more than one. See, if I click here, then close all the previous ones that are open. If I click and close all the previous ones that are open. Basically, yeah, that's the code is very simple. Basically, that's exactly what we are doing. We have the custom and we also have the items, the custom item that we are rendering. So in this case, this is the custom and this is the item that we are rendering. So this item that we are rendering here have an ID, and in this case, it's going to be the ID of the section. And then I have a few classes. For example, I pass in a border. I have a padding left. I also give it that the text should be large, the font should be bold. You're in complete control of how this should look. If you want it to look completely different, feel free to customize it. The next section is the content of the custom. In this case, when I click on it, it expands. This will give me whatever that is triggering the custom. In this case, is the title. And I think when we were generating, I removed this section title because I was saying that we do not need it, but it seems like I was wrong. We do need the section title because every section has a title, which is different from the subsection. So yeah, I see the reason why I added it in the first place. So we will go back to types.d.tx. Within, was it inside a section? Yes, we'll have a section title. Section underscore title, which is a string. We'll save this guy. So we need to go back to our place where we're generating the data. In this, which is on the section. There you go. Don't worry. Now we will need the section title. So let me look at the exact phrase that I used to generate the section title. In this case, I think it's just Faker.sentence. So we're just taking a sentence. I think now it's making sense why I added the section title in the first place. So once I close that, let's go back here. Then the section title is now input. So What is this trigger? This trigger is whatever component that you put in here. Once you click on that component, we'll open the cursor for it. In this case, if I go back to the demo, here is a trigger. The trigger is we're rendering the title. Clicking open, you click it, it closes. That is the trigger. So that is what we are rendering here. We just put in flex justify between because we want this button. We need this button to come. So that is this why it's going to tell us the number of videos that are in there. And for the number of videos, we talked about it, which is there's a section within the subsection. The length of that subsection gives us the video. In this case here, there's 5 subsections here. We have 5 videos. If we have 10 subsections, we have 10 videos. So that's what this is doing. The content of it is once you expand on them, you have the content. In this case, the content of whatever that is expanded is coming from our section. So we're just rendering here. If you want, you can put an icon here, video icon. I was experimenting putting the icon, but I don't need it. So I have a section title. In this case, for the video, I'm just generating a random number that appears here, and then I put the minutes. That's it. It's also very simple. So we have this component ready. Now we have every single component that we need for the courses detail. So we will just go to the page.tsx, and since we have all the components that we need, because we need to be importing them one by one. In this case, we have the courses hero, we have the course start, and we have the course section. So for the course detail, since we have all these components that are ready, we'll just bring it right inside here. So let me close up this terminal. I don't think I have more to explain, but we'll do. So ideally, whatever that I'm doing here, I'm just printing this guy props, because inside the props I have params, and inside the params it gives me the course ID. Because I named this course ID, that's why it is course ID. If I name it ID, I'll get ID here. Next.js behind the scene will propagate that information. When I navigate to, for example, here that I navigated to courses / this is the ID, Next.js will now propagate this information and make it available via prop. That is why I have the params, and within the params I have course ID. But what we are going to do here, we're going to change this into an async server function, and once we have the course ID, then we'll be fetching that information from the backend once we connect the backend. Right now, all I'm doing is very simple. I'm generating a course of length 1, and I'm picking up that course that I generated, which is going to be very different from whatever that was generated before. I did not want to generate 50 because we're calling this function. There's no seed that is passed through it. So whatever it was generated, it will generate the same information again. So we're going to change, we will come back here and change this part of the code. The moment we have a backend, and we are going to have a backend, we'll come back here and then change this. Instead of hard coding this, we'll fetch from the backend. So this is the course details that I created. I have this course here. I pass in the name, description, average rating. I have a demo video URL. Yeah, that's it. And I also have the total reviews. Right now I'm just hard coding, but this is also something that I will also be fetching from the backend to include here as well. Course starts detail, very simple. We'll probably also change this component later and pass in a props here for the starts that we want to render. Course content is just our section, because course content takes sections. It takes a list of sections. I'm taking the one that we generated. In this case, courses at 0. I already have courses at 0, so I'll just do course.section. So this will now give me the section that I generated. What is happening? Let's go back to our page for course details, reload this page, and see what we are going to get, because we already built every single thing that is necessary here. Very simple. I'm rendering here, this guy's here. So as you can see, because I changed the video to large, I say that if my screen size is large, then do it. That's why we are having this. So it wouldn't take it until when the screen size is large. So you can, this was the change that we just did, and then it reflows really well. Go to course, we're going to change this, because one of them are going to be rendered. Once we're in production, it's either enroll now if you're new here, we'll show you the sign up page, or go to course. Right, so we have this ready. It's also the hydration issue for the li/a. This is also related to the pagination. I'm going to hide. I'll just close it for now, but we will hydrate. So this is just what we just built right now. If I click, it will open it. If I also click on videos, it will open it. the same way here. We generated 6 of them. So in this case, a user would know what to expect if they're to purchase this course. I think this is beautiful. The last part of what here is the hero starts. Last part of what we need to add here is the expand and reduce all. But going back to the Akason, because they do not expose any function, for example, they do not have inside a sheet, for example, they have open where you can pass open. In this case, they do not have open here. So what I did is I just queried the DOM and experiment. I did go to Radix UI to just check what's good. I love the component so much. I did not want to abandon the component for it, but because I also think that the query is not expensive at all, that is the reason why I said that I'm gonna stay with the same component and then just query the DOM. In this case, let's go back. In order to add the expand all and collapse all, we will go back to cost content. In this case, we will change this already client component. What is happening here next is we're adding some state. We're using use state to see whether everything is expanded or everything is just collapsed. I will just bring in this import here. Very simple. We're just importing 2 things. We're importing use state and then button. We already have these guys ready. So I declare an enum. The enum will just tell me the expand state, whether this is expanded or it's not expanded. So in this case, I'll just copy the command. So I'm going to use the enum state to know that everything is expanded or everything is collapsed. And then the next state that I'm going to do is just to declare a state. So this state will just hold whether I'm current everything is expanded or not expanded. So I'll just uncomment this code, format my friend, close up this guy. So you can see simple. I started by everything is collapsed by default. Once a user lands on the page, it's collapsed by default. So that's why I have the initial stages expand state of all collapse. Now we need to have a button, and this button will now allow us to see if we are expanded or not. So you can see now the flex between will now come into play now, because now we will have a second item here that we call expand all. So in this case, let me just do undefined for now, and we will define that function later. So I'll save this. We will go back to our page and see if the button is going to show up here. It should show up here with the name, depending on whatever. Now it says expand all. So if I click it multiple times, it's not going to do anything. Why? Because we did not hook up the onClick function. How did I solve this problem and I still maintain the same component? What I did is in the Akason trigger, I pass in the section ID. Because the section ID is unique, it's not getting generated every single time. We know that the DOM is now going to have this as an ID. So what I did was I now write a function which just queries the DOM, get all these elements. If it is expand all, then I will trigger, I will do a manual click on it. Not sure if this is the best way, but it did work for me. If you find another way of doing it or using another component, something else, I can also build my own component and just handle it. I don't think it's like rocket science, nothing out of the ordinary. I can build another component and just handle it myself. I decided to do it this way. So let's do something else. Let's create a function which is called toggle the expand state. We can just toggle it to all or not. What I'm doing here is, like I said, I'm just querying the document.getElement by ID in all the sections, because that is where I pass in. That is the reason why I pass in the ID here. So I'm getting the element by state, which is, this query is not expensive at all. It's a very cheap query to do. If the element doesn't exist, then return. Most likely the element is going to exist. I know, but just to be safe, because the return type of this is either HTML element or not. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the data state. So the data state will tell me if it is open or not. How do I know that? It was from the API. So when I click on Radix UI here, I did dive deeper into the API. And at some point they tell me that in the trigger element here, there's something called data state. And this data state attribute will tell you if it is open or closed. So I make use of the information that they already stored in the data attribute. All I did is say trigger element.get attribute data state, because I know that they told me from their website that we will have an attribute called data state. So it's either open or closed. So what I'm doing is here, let's say we don't come back. I will explain why I did this to handle the edge case. All I'm doing, I'm saying trigger element.click. But I don't want to click it when it's already open. So let's say that it is I open 2 of them or 3 of them already, and then I click expand all. If I do not have these 2 checks above, it's going to close the 3 that were open and it will open the rest. That is not something that I want. So what I did is I added some extra additional checks that are constant basically. So I'm saying that if the expanded state is all collapse, that means the current state is all collapse, they are all expanded. If all this shouldn't be all expanded. Anyways, this is not a good variable number. We can talk about renaming it later. So if I say that if everything is collapsed and the state is open, in this case I know that I'm trying to open it, so I don't do anything. The one that is already open, we leave it as it is. The next one is if I'm all expanded and it is closed, then I know that this guy is expanded and the state currently is closed, then I'll return. Because if I'm all expanded, then it means I am trying to close it now. In this case, if it is already closed, I don't need to do anything, I return. So if it is all collapsed, then it means I want to do the opposite. I want to expand it. In this case, if the state is open and I want to expand it, I don't want to do anything, so I return. That's it, and then I trigger it. Once I have these guys ready triggered, then I just set the state. In this case, I just change it. If I use an inner function, which is probably one of the better ways of just updating your state. So I get the current state, which is the current expanded state, and I check if it is expanded. If everything is collapsed, then I do the opposite. So basically, if everything is collapsed, expand, everything expand, collapse. In this way, it can help us to change the text. So I'll save this. We will go back to the website here. We have the all expanded button. I don't know if the loading have kicked in. I think it does. So if I click on expand all here, still not doing anything. So let's give it some time. Let me see. Oh yes, because we did not call the function here. We still have undefined. Hello Fred. So I will just call, what did I name the function? Toggle expand state. So toggle expand state. There you go. We should be good to go. And I think once the new change kicks in, then we should be good. If I now click on, see, it generated new. If I click on expand all, there you go. Every single part is expanded. So to test our edge case, let's say I open this first one here. If I click expand all, I expect the one that was open to remain because I'm trying to do that. It doesn't make sense if I do anything else. So I click expand all, it remained open. If I collapse this guy, I collapse the third one. If I click on collapse all, every single part is collapsed. So we're done with this section. I think, yes, this part is ready. So the last part that we'll be doing today, or the second to last, is this here. If you click on go to course, we now want to go to that last section that I showed you guys, which is learn, which allows you to learn a particular course, to start reading. So here is only the demo video that is shown. Here you see the title, what you expect to do, but it shows nothing else. Right? Let's go into that page. In order to do that, because it is inside courses here and inside courses detail, because we want the URL to be courses, the ID of the course / learn. In the case we can protect ourselves better, we will create a new folder inside courses ID, and this folder I will call it learn. Inside learn I have page.tsx. So for the learn page is very simple. Every single, let's go back here and just navigate to learn page. Let me expand this. To go to learn is /learn. This will now take us to the learn page. So as we have this, you can see we already have this component. We also have the video component. So this part of the code is very simple. But before that, because I want only this section to be scrolling, I don't want this part to scroll. It's optional. If you want, you can do it. But I think it's a better, it's a good user experience to do. So ideally, if you can do it, fine. Yeah. Click here, expand, click on any of these videos, it changes. Once we have an actual video from the backend, we will now come here and then add the on-click event so that once we click it, we'll do it. So I'll close this section here. And then because we are going to use a scroll area, we need to install this from SatCN. Welcome. If you're new, we're using SatCN for the UI live. They have this section here called scroll area that allows you to put only one part of your application to be scrollable. Let's open the terminal. Or as you can see here, here is the course ID that we pass. We don't have any side param, so I'm gonna stop this. And you should also do the same thing, install the scroll area. Once the scroll area is done, we will now come back to the code. Yes, and then rerun this application. There you go. So that is done. Let's run this application. So for this part here is very simple because we have every single component that we need. I explain every single component. What we're doing here is simple. Right now I'm just generating one course, like I said, and I have the scroll area, which is the course content. This is why I was telling you that the this guy is important, which is the passing the width is very important here. In this case, I pass in a width inside, and I say that I want the width to be full. I also want the padding right to be 5. Yeah, I will save this video. Very simple. We also have this. I pass in the URL and then the video host is Vimeo. So we'll come back to our application. I'll minimize this, and if I go on /this/lan, then this should now fetch the new page from the server that allows us to learn a particular course. So with the help of the scroll area that we install, it will now help us to just make that part of the application scrollable and the other part is not. So because it's a new page that we're fetching for the first time, Next.js doesn't have a cast for it, it's going to take time. There you go. We have our friend loaded. So as you can see, it's very similar, nothing different from the previous page. The hydration error is gone by itself. So you can see here we have 4 videos here, we have 10 videos here. So you can see we have these 10 guys here. So we can click on any one of them here to just play the video here. Yeah, that is it. So we are done with every single part. But if you notice something inside inside our actual demo, when I click on courses, as you can see, there's this beautiful loading schema that was loading. So for the loading schema, to create a new loading schema, there's nothing too complicated out of it. We'll just have to go to all the components that we have and create a schema for those components. But because we created this component, we have the styling for it. So creating a schema is very simple. So I'll go to the component section. For example, courses details. We can come here and then create a new schema that we are going to call course details hero skeleton. So in this case, we are going to load the skeleton while we are fetching the information from the backend. It's a good user experience to have. I don't think I will spend more time into the skeletons, but yeah, I will just bring the code in for these skeletons that we have. They're not complicated, to be honest. They're like really simple. So let me do one thing. Let me open this guy. So I can just, let me open this guy, which is here, and let me get the skeleton components. I'll explain the first one so that it would make sense. So I'll just copy this guy here for the skeleton, and I'll paste it here. For the rest, I'll just bring it in. I wouldn't explain more, but because so we don't have the skeleton because skeleton is coming from Satyan. So you have skeleton here. This is the guy that we need. So as usual, copy the code for it, come back to the terminal, stop whatever that is running, paste it, and then add the skeleton. So while we wait for that skeleton to complete, I will return back to the code and just explain what is happening. But let's wait for, I think we need some confirmation. It's done. We run back our application. I think the error should now go away because we have the skeleton covered. Anyways, let me do one thing. Let me do this. /components. I call it, yes, components UI skeleton. Okay, you want to import it like that. Let's do that. Oh, okay, I see why that is happening. I'm going to explain. So I'm going to have a custom component that I'm not going to cause. So it's just an extension. So I'm going to go inside component because I don't want to pass a callout to every single one of these components here. because the component have a color by default. So what I will do is I will create a new component here that I will call it. So my app is e-learning, so I'll just call it e-learning skeleton. So in this case, I will extend on, I will have one source of truth if I want to change the color. So I'll just come here and then change the color. Whatever I'm doing here is very simple. It's just the skeleton from this other component from the SAT-CN. That is just the skeleton that I'm taking, and I'm returning my new skeleton. So in this case, I will call this guy e-learning skeleton, and we will just return the e-learning skeleton here. What am I doing here? So basically very simple. I'm passing a class name to this guy, which I'm telling you we can customize it anyhow. Because I want my skeleton to be this color, so I'm just doing it once here. I import a skeleton from SAT-CN and I just give it a name as SAT-CN skeleton. So that's what I'm doing. In that way, all I'm doing is I'm just rendering this e-learning skeleton here, because I don't want to be changing. I don't want to put color. I was just too lazy to do that. One way of doing it would be to probably go to Tailwind configuration. Inside the Tailwind configuration, try and target the skeleton class and then just change the color of that skeleton class. I think that is even a better way of doing it. So if I go back to Tailwind, but I have a new component, you can just create a new component here as well. I think it's also very straightforward as well. Someone reading the code would see what you did here. But ideally, go to Tailwind CSS. If you're supporting multi-theme, let's say you're supporting dark theme, light theme, go to the configuration. In my first video, we talked about configuring the Tailwind configuration. So in this case, go back to Tailwind configuration, change the skeleton. So here now, because I'm not using this, I'm going to come back to all the skeleton here. I will find and just replace it with e-learning skeleton. Save. There you go. So that exists, but because e-learning skeleton is now not coming from UI, is coming from e-learning skeleton component, and I have a default for that. So what are you doing? Why are you not finding my friend? So it's inside component. Let's see, why is this guy not finding? Let's do it again. So maybe sometimes VS Code would just have components and e-learning skeleton. Yay, we found you. So right now this is ready. So as you can see, there's nothing different. What I did here is just I did go back to my Discord here, copied everything that was here. I copied these guys here, come back to my skeleton component and paste it right in here. If you can see, most of these stylings are the same. The only difference is those components that were there, I remove the components and then give it a width and then a height, so that it have those width and height. So there's nothing out of the ordinary. Everything is so simple. If you can style the other one, then you can style this guy as well. So the next part for the skeleton is just the search input skeleton. So there's nothing for the search input skeleton is similar to the other one. So search input, because search input is here and is used across the application, I'll just create the here. I'll just create it here called search input skeleton.tsx. I'll just paste the code for the search input skeleton. In this case, I will do one thing, because I'm getting this guy from not from UI, but I'm getting my friend from art/components e-learning/e-learning. Because it's a default, because it is default import, we don't have to change the name. Yes, we don't have you, that's why we will put you right in here. So you want to style, the width is 80 pixel. I will give it a width instead of, or I'll give it a width of 80 pixel. I'll do it right here because I'm not taking style as props, and it has a height. I will take in the height as 36 pixel. 36 pixel. So in this case, I don't need you. Goodbye. And I don't need you as well. Goodbye. Do that, and that is safe. So we have the site input ready. If we go back to the page, what other going back to the demo, what other do we need? I think for the combo box, if I go back to course, we're dealing with the courses first. Let me minimize this guy here so it can source the courses. Inside courses, I think we have a combo box, so we can make that combo box responsive. So are we having the app running? Yes. So why is it taking that much time to generate? Yeah, so we have the site course, we did that. We have the combo box, and the combo box, I'll also just bring in the code here. You can also find the code on GitHub as well. Copy it and then just go through the code. So you can, we have the combo box. I'll also create combo box skeleton. Combo box skeleton.tsx. In this case, let's pull in the skeleton from combo box. Here is you. Need you here. We get this guy here. Very simple. If you know the code for the other one, you can do it here. So it's e-learning skeleton, which is our specific skeleton. We don't need anything else. We save. So we can go back to courses details. We need it for the content. We also need it for the hero section. We have it for hero. We need it for the content and the start. So for the content, I'll create a new file called course content skeleton.tsx. Skeleton.tsx. This I will come back here. Where is the course content skeleton? Which is here. I'll copy the same code, bring it, and then just bring it right in here. Very simple. Whatever that I have in the course content is what I copied here, bring it here. The same classes, you can see here, I have this class name. If I go back to the course content, it's the same thing for the first div. We have a class name. Where are you? Here. We have a class name. We have the styles here. If I come back to course content, these are similar styles that we have here. So here I just generate, because these components, I just have an array and then just pass in number to generate, because depending on, I pass this as props because depending on where I'm using it, if I'm using it in the course details or in the learn section, I need to generate more than, so I just pass here. It's just simple method from array that allows you to generate an array of this size here. Simple. We just need to change, let's use the add components / e-learning skeleton. So it should be good. I saved that. What else that is missing? The stats. So inside course details, I will create course stats. Is course details stats. Course details stats, and then skeleton.tsx. So just bring in the skeleton from course details stats, which is also very similar to whatever that we have in the previous one. The only thing that needs to be changed, I don't think we need you. We don't need the React import anymore. I'll copy this add / components / e-learning. Where are you? E-learning skeleton. So it should be good. Now that we have all of these guys ready for the course details, we also need a skeleton for course as well. Course, there is course card, there is course title, courses.tsx, and rating. So I'll just bring in those files as well. So in the interest of time, I think I should also type these guys as well. I should just bring them in. So inside courses, we are also going to have a few more skeletons as well, which is the course card skeleton. Add course, we'll also have a skeleton for it. So here I will just fast forward the video. Let me do this. Let's copy this code here. Let's bring it, which is the course card skeleton. So here this will just be course card skeleton.tsx. Bring you guys hello. And here this is going to be add / components / e-learning. That should be good. Save. What else that is here that we need? Do we need courses? Yes, we do need to have for courses as well, because that is the one that is rendering the different courses that we have. So courses, I'll just copy this guy here and then create a new file here that is called courses / skeleton.tsx. I'll save that. Bring this guy in. We have courses card skeleton, so I'm just looping through to just render sex. I will save this. Anything else that we need? Is there any other skeleton that we need? For now, I think we should be good. So we will go back to, and I'll explain how the app loading works. So inside the app route, the first place that we are adding a skeleton is the layout here, which is the first one within. So there we have to create a component, and it should be called exactly loading. The extension doesn't matter, but either have to be JX, TSX, or JSX. In our case, we're using TypeScript, so it's going to be called TSX. Any code that you have in this loading.tsx, how Next.js works behind the scene is going to send this code. I'll also link the documentation of Next.js so you guys can read more about it. It sends in the data from if you request a page, Next.js sends in the loading component while it's fetching the data from the backend. The moment it gets a content from the backend, it replaces it for you. You don't have to worry about having a loading state to handle it. They're doing that behind the scene. They're doing everything on the server, which is beautiful. So inside course, we have the loading.tsx. Every single part we already have inside this loading.tsx. So it's just a normal React component that we are going to create. There's nothing here that we do not have. We have it for the combo box. We have it for the skeleton. We have it for the input. So we will just copy that. Inside here, you notice that we have this flex width, flex column, gap 5. If I go to the page, you will see that we have a similar style, flex width, column, gap. It's basically that simple. Here I just decided to ignore the title and so on, but yeah, you can do this if you want. I have the site input here, combo box, course content. I'll save it. So if a user requests this page, if it is loading behind the scenes, Next.js will send that. The other place that we need to add inside course ID, because this place we definitely need it here. What happens once a user goes and visit that page, because we're getting that information from the backend, the round trip is going to take a little bit more time. So here is one of the places that we really need the loading skeleton inside, where we are just loading the specific course that a user click on. So I'll go on loading.tsx. Inside course ID, there's a loading.tsx. I think we also have every single component here we created. So I'm just going to import it and then click on save. Inside LAN as well, we also need a loading.tsx. So there are more files that are needed. There is also error.tsx that you can also call when there's an error. You can catch it at that level. There's so many files. Head on to the Next.js documentation to learn about them. So inside here, we have this guy here. So we'll just do that and we're all good. So the skeleton components, we're doing e-learning skeleton. Yeah, so we should be good. Now that we have all these guys, we now need to go back to our app and test if they're working. So the first place that we can test is in the code. So I will just do a reload here and see if this is working, because this page, oh, there you go. So it's beautiful. You can see we have that loading schema, that loading skeleton loading. The moment we have the data from the backend, it replaces it. So this is one beautiful part of it. So the hydration guys are still coming up. Hello. Beautiful. So the next one where we have it is the details, but because we do not have the details, we now need to go back to our card and just edit this. So if I go back to our course card, because we already have this information, we're already passing the course. Something else that I'm going to link, I'm going to use the link component from Next.js, which is next link. Here, if you don't, you just import link from next link, and I will just bring this guy all the way down here, so that I wrap up this component, and inside the link we need an href so that once it's clicked it can go. So in my case, the href is going to be course dot course ID, because I will save this. So in this case we can click on any one of these course and it will take us to the course details page. So you can see I have the pointer is now pointed. So if I click on it, this will now navigate to the course details page, because we now have the ID. So there is a problem. Yes, I did made a mistake in my navigation, because we are not going directly to course ID. We will use a template string here. We are navigating to, what am I doing? We are navigating to courses. And inside courses, we are now going to that ID that we have. So now this is going to find something. So I'll go back to the previous. We'll allow this guy to load. So once it loads, because this mistake, this was my mistake, we do not have any route that's called that. Now that we have this, so if I click, oh, okay, the loading schema now kicks in that we just create. So here has 92 lessons. So if I click on here, I expect it to navigate to the next page and it also loads the schema of that particular page. So as you can see, beautiful, it loaded the schema. So it's very slow. One way to do it is open DevTools, slow down your network so you can see the schema if you have a very fast network. The last one is the courses. In this case, I would use go to course. So let's go and modify this go to course page. Where is this guy located? I think it's in course details, hero section. Course details, hero, not skeleton. There you go, my friend. So this button here, on click of this button, oh no, not on click, we will use the next. Let's wrap, let's do the link, Next.js link. In this case we have a button inside it. So let's do this. We'll just do this guy and then move it all the way up, format it, have an href. I think I should be able to have the course ID. So href should be, let's use a template string. So we are doing courses. Inside courses we have the courses ID. From there we're going to learn. So do I pass in the ID here at all? No, I did not. So I will just go in where and find the reference of where this is called. It's only called in one place. I'll click on it and then add the course ID here. So I think it's something that I need. So course underscore ID, and this is going to be a string. I will save this because yes, we do not have it yet. I'll add it. So if I come back to where is this guy rendered here, okay, come on, I'll give you the course ID if you want it. In this case it's course.id, course.course ID. There you go. So if I come back to the hero section, we now have access to the course ID. Just destructure it right here. Have the course ID. So I have course course underscore ID, and then the last route is just learn. So let's learn about this course. Let me save this. Yes, I'll fix this unexpected token. That should be fixed now. Let me reload the whole page. There you go. Now it's off. It's just expected. So if I click on go to course, I expect it to navigate to the next page. So let me click on go to course because this is the first time. Oh, I'm going into courses. Inside courses, I'm also going into another courses again. Then is that what I did? Oh, because the courses detail is already inside courses. So let's do that. Let's go to course ID and then learn. So let me go back here. I wonder why I can't find it because it's already inside courses. So it throws up this other guy. So I expect if I click, you guys just add learn towards the end and fit that page from Next.js. We expect to see the loading schema behind the scenes. There was no loading schema, or is it that because it's very fast the data was not coming because we did not see any loading schema? But yeah, I think that should be it for this part of the tutorial. I'm going to talk about Vimeo, the last part, how I'm using it. I quickly talked about it, but let's visit the Vimeo site and see how I was able to do that. So Vimeo allows me to upload a video, so I'll click here. I don't want to upload any video, so I uploaded this video because right now I don't need it yet, so I'm on the free plan, but I had a free trial that I used. So if I click on this video on Vimeo with the pagination, this now allows me to customize the player. It also allows me to share where I want it to play. For example, I can just put that I want it to be played in a I created a preset here, which is the e-learning player. So you can see the color is here very similar. It matches really well with whatever that I have. So here I can have more control. I can say that, oh, hide the Vimeo logo or show the Vimeo logo. In this case, it hides the Vimeo logo here. But because I'm not on a premium plan, I cannot save this. But this is how it is going to look. I can add a few more things. For example, I can hide the volume bar if I want to. It's not something I want to do, but if I want to do, I can hide it. I can hide the play bar, everything at all. I have the full control. I can customize it, and someone would land on my page, they wouldn't know that this is Vimeo. So for example, actions, I can hide all. Controls. So yeah, let user decide. Let me hide everything here and then just hide all. So in this case, I'm not showing up my name there. Yeah, this is what I'm planning to do. In this, it gives you full control of how you want your video to be played, and it's also safer for people who don't pay for your course, wouldn't be able to have access to it. Yeah, I think that should be it. You can, if you also have a different plan, you can also upgrade it more to customize it. But yes, this is how it is going to look once I upload my course. If you're looking at hosting a video, don't worry, come here to Vimeo, upload your videos on Vimeo, customize it anyhow you want. There's more privacy things that you can also set where you want it to play. For example, right now I can embed it to anywhere. When I upgrade, I'll put embedded to specific domain. This means it can only play in my domain, and that domain belongs to me. I purchase it so no one else can use the video somewhere else. Right now it's private, true. I can also put it to public so that anyone else can use it on the internet. But yes, but the fact that it is private, only people on you and your account can access it. Something I'm not sure is whether if somebody else has this video, they can log into it. Like you as the end user, if I put this thing directly, you will not be able to click and use it to play. You can also add chapters here as well. There's a place that allows you to add chapters. So like every time, this is how I conclude my video. My channel is very new. One way of you supporting for me to produce more content, there's still backend to come. Please like this video for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more videos. Thank you, and see you guys in the next episode.